Which was unbelievably impressive on Friday night over at the Turning Stone, Cobate Americas. It was an awesome full house. I can't say anything more positive about it. Campbell McClaren, who, by the way, is the originator of UFC fame. Campbell, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning, Bill. Always glad to come on. I was talking to your producer before I came on. I said the nice thing about Bill is he actually knows what he's talking about because I've done other shows where that wasn't the case, and that's always a pleasure. And then you came out to support. That was great. We sold a heck of a lot of tickets. Apparently, we sold the tickets to the right people because the crowd was very enthusiastic. So that was great.
And the setting, it looked awesome. I mean, and that is the difference between boxing and MMA. I mean, the setup is just cool.
Yeah, it does look cool, right? And, going back to the early days of the UFC, that was one thing I was very focused on. How did it look? But I think another difference between boxing, and this is what I want to say up at the top, is MMA is known for putting the combatants and the fighters against tough opposition immediately. Oftentimes in boxing, which is a great sport, but guys are cherry-picked, and you get people that can get to a 49-0 record. That'd be very hard to do in MMA because in MMA, you come out against the best almost every fight. And I just want to say about Matt Hamill, who, didn't win. And a lot of people said to me, that was tough. They were disappointed in that. Listen, Matt is not a guy that has ever backed away from a challenge. He had a tough fight. That was a tough fight. Didn't go the way the home crowd wanted. I got to say, I was rooting for Matt, too. But he's not a man to back away from challenges. So it didn't go his way, but he can hold his head very high.
I got to tell you that, I mean, he's just so... people love him. He's just such a nice guy, which makes me wonder how can he get in the cage and fight, because he is such a nice guy. But he's an amazing athlete and he's tough. And you're right, he would never back down from a challenge.
Yeah, so I was very proud to have him on the show. That was a great part of it.
All right, takeaway. Obviously, doing this at the Turning Stone, having it one of the first MMA events in the state, really cool. And so your takeaway from all of this?
Well, my biggest takeaway is this. I use this line that people tell me I use too much. I say salsa outsells ketchup in the U.S., not because there's more Hispanics, because everybody likes Spanish flavor. And this was a pretty good test because, honestly, this was not a very Hispanic audience up at the Turning Stone. But, I think everybody liked the event. And so it was good for me to know that I can come into an area where they're knowledgeable fans, regardless of their background, ethnicity, whatever. If I put on a good show, everybody likes it. And that's what we did.
You also, last week, named a new president for Cobate Americas. Big move right there.
Alberto Del Rio. Bill, your Cobate pronunciation is awesome, by the way.
I've been practicing.
You are nailing it now. So that's good.
It wasn't that way in the beginning, I'll tell you that. But we're there finally. So
what's interesting, we had a call yesterday with all my fight experts, and Cobate has a number of people that are very knowledgeable. Mike Aframowitz is my right-hand guy. He helped launch Strikeforce Invicta. He's been in the fight business a long time. Eduardo Melendez is Gil Melendez's cousin. He's now joined the team. So we had a bunch of knowledgeable guys on the phone arguing, because that's what knowledgeable guys do. Right? Everybody's right. Alberto came in. I don't want to say he shut it down, but his opinions are so on the money. There's such a difference when a guy's been a fighter. Right. It's like, your guest who I didn't know who that was, but he knew football.
Yes.
I think if you've played a sport, been a fighter, your level of knowledge is very different. For me, it's purely theoretical. For Alberto, he's seen out through the cage. That's a different view than looking in.
Right. And, I had a friend call me the other day, and it was like, you had Alberto. Now, he's a WWE fan, And so he brings a lot to the table here for you guys.
Absolutely. Obviously, WWE, hugely popular. He was the heavyweight champ. He was also Pan American wrestling champion, so real amateur wrestling, professional wrestling, and of course, famously fought MMA in Pride, had 7 MMA fights. He fought Pro Cop.
Yeah.
So, and again, didn't go his way, but I wouldn't fight Pro Cop.
No.
That guy was a killer.
Yeah.
The guy is a killer.
Yeah, I felt so small sitting next to him the other day, last Wednesday during the Q&A. I mean, it was like, wow.
He's big, and he's in great shape.
No doubt.
And it was fun to have him.
Okay, and last thing I want to hit you on is a big part of your show, a big part of the action is women. I mean, people love to see the girls fight. And I just don't, and the girl who was next to me, I can't come up with her name right now off the top of my head, but I'm glancing at her, and she's so beautiful. I sound like Donald Trump now. She's so beautiful. But I noticed one little scar on the bridge of her nose. The rest is she's basically untouched. How do these girls do it?
Well, I tell you, Big John, Big John McCarthy is the UFC ref who I started with. He says MMA is maybe the best sport for women because his theory is this, that every sport that women engage in, whether it's boxing, basketball, or even golf, is an upper body sport.
Right.
And women don't excel at tennis. Men, can serve so much faster than women in tennis.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into MMA, the skills that matter are leverage, balance, torque, skill, and, and I don't want to sound like Donald Trump, but women have a lot of power in that midsection, the booty section of the body.
Yeah.
And, that's very good for MMA. So what you have is you have arguably maybe the best sport for women. And MMA, obviously, maybe the most exciting fighters of the moment. Juliana Pena is our announcer. She's fabulous in the UFC. Kira Batara is, undefeated in Cobate. And you saw Paulina go in there and Jenny, and that was like those girls, they didn't give up.
Right.
We like to say that Cobate ends at, we're still at 81% finishes. So only 19% of our fights go to the judges. Most of our fighters, end the fight in a way that shows who won. The girl fight did go to the judges, but oh my God, you saw that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And it
both,
was
both tough kids.
It was, by the way, Juliana Pena that I was actually sitting next to, and beauty. And what I thought was most beautiful as you were trying to negotiate her into your league right there on the stage. I thought that was pretty cool. Hey, you see an opportunity, you got to run with it.
Absolutely. She would be a huge get. She is under contract in the UFC. So.
No doubt. All right. Well, listen, Campbell, good stuff. Pleased to have it happen here. And listen, you're the history guy. You launched it in New York, and you got to relaunch in New York all over again.
How about that? That is so cool.
Yeah,
that is so cool for me. Listen, Bill, do you have a passport?
I guess I do have a passport.
January 19th, we're kicking off in Mexico City. You want to come?
Wow, I would love that. Well, I could see we'd do the show from there. I don't know if we get over the wall, but there's going to be a big wall. We got to get over the wall. But if we get over the wall,
make sure you have your passport. You don't want to be applying for stuff when you go down there.
I've got it. So let's talk. I'd love to talk about that.
Real invitation. Would love to have you.
All right, Campbell McClaren, legendary. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right, thanks, Bill.